Well, should Aaron Murray have spiked the ball? That's the question on every Bulldog fan's mind after last week's devastating loss to Alabama. Did you watch that game? It was a nail-biter. It was very intense. Well, here to weigh in on the game is End Zone host Bill Shanks with tonight's BS Report.
If you're a Georgia Bulldogs fan, you are still licking your wounds from the game the other night in Atlanta against Alabama, the SEC championship game. It was a brutal game for the Bulldogs to lose. It was a great football game. Entertainment value could not be better as far as watching just two great teams battle it out against each other, but the ending just kind of puts a little bit of a damper on it. And yes, the question all week has been, should Georgia have spiked the ball to stop the clock and set up two plays to try to get into the end zone to take the lead and win the ball game at the last second? And the answer to that question is yes, they should have spiked the ball. Now, the problem for me was when I went back on Sunday morning and actually watched the DVR of the game and watched the replay of how Georgia got down to the 8-yard line, and the problem was how Georgia wasted too much time off the clock. The play right after Tavares King made the reception for Georgia to get the ball to the 34, after the clock started, it took them almost 9 seconds to snap the ball. So the clock went from 30 to 21. And then they snapped the ball, threw the ball down to Arthur Lynch, who got down to the Alabama 8-yard line. And then Alabama, of course, was on their heels. But instead of stopping the clock, Georgia kept on going. And after they got everything set, snapped it, Georgia then threw the ball. They were intending it to go to Malcolm Mitchell. It did not. It was tipped by an Alabama defender. And then Chris Conley caught it by mistake, and the game was over because there was no way for Georgia to stop the clock. But when they showed that they could not really get set in time to snap the ball quickly, when the clock went from 30 to 21, that was a telltale sign. And then you had Aaron Murray running up the line of scrimmage and motioning to the sideline like this, should I spike the ball? And Mark Richt and Mike Bobo should have allowed Aaron Murray to make that decision. That should have been his call. If the quarterback thinks that he should spike it to stop and slow everything down, then that's what they should have done. Plus, everybody was afraid, well, you know, you had Alabama on their heels. You didn't want them to slow down so they would be able to make the good play. Well, look, the most important thing was to try to make sure that Georgia was set for the two plays they needed. And by the mismanagement of the clock going from 30 to 21, and even after they started the clock going from 15 to 10, Georgia needed to just calm down. I do see the points of people who say, no, it was better to try to keep Alabama on their heels and try to win it there quickly. But now it's so easy to say that all they needed to do was spike the ball, stop the clock, and try to win the ball game. But it was just a great football game, and it was so sad that it had to end that way.